Welcome to the FBAA's Top Broker Podcast for mortgage brokers looking to take their business to the next level with your host, Joshua Vecchio.
Today we have Matt Crossley for part 2. He's a mortgage broker for Coronis, based in Brisbane. In this episode, we look at how processes allowed Matt to double his settlement volumes in less than 12 months. We then discuss the importance of outsourcing the low dollar productive activities. By the end of today, you're going to feel enlightened in knowing exactly how you too can double your settlements by first focusing on the back end. So let's jump in. Hello and welcome. I'm Josh Vecchio, and today we're joined again with Matt Crossley. Matt, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks, Josh.
Over the last 12 months, you've managed to double your settlements. How'd you do this?
Really simply, just having a look at our process and our systems and redefining them and actually having them, building them out, having them and working to some structure.
Because I know initially you were a little bit against, I guess you could call the automation. Why is that? Because you came from the banking background where everything was, written on sticky notes.
Yeah, and look, if they'd buy me sticky notes. So, in the bank world, it was pretty much up in my head, to be honest. You were running around like a headless chook, and there was no real CRM system or anything. And I just thought that's the way it worked. I also had the belief that broking is, lending is always individual. Every scenario is different, and you can't put a process in place. But, I was fortunate about 18 months ago to have the opportunity with Connective to actually build out our CRM system and put some structure and process in place. And that was something I guess I'd seen starting to work with a back office outsourcing company that we used for a little while. So we basically flowcharted out the loan process. So from the gestation, the prospecting of clients, the lodgement, the approval process, the settlement process, and then sort of the ongoing client relationship from there. So it was something that took 3-4 months to sort of flowchart it out. We've then built a very structured process in our CRM, and to say it sort of completely changed my day-to-day world is an understatement. It's now sort of something I live and breathe by, and couldn't survive without it. So having that process really just enabled me to clear my mind as much as I could of all those sort of things. If I remember to do this, I've got to do that, and actually just focus on the task in hand, knowing that there was an automation process in place to remind me at the various sort of points in time I needed to do things with each file.
So essentially you've got a system where each client gets the same sort of service. So is it a system where the lead comes in and then a set process is followed each and every time?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we put the client into the CRM system, and then depending on where they're up to in the cycle. So if we're going to lodge a deal sort of pretty much straight away, it will go down one track. If they're 3-6 months away, it will go down another. But it will always end up going through the same 24 steps that we've got in the process to sort of get them from an initial inquiry through to an ongoing service client.
That's phenomenal. And from that, you can essentially identify maybe areas in your business where there's bottlenecks that you can then build out further systems to ensure that all customers get the same experience.
Yeah, absolutely. The great thing is we can pull the reports and see where things are maybe staying in one status for too long, or those kind of things. So adaptability of the system as well, as we use it, and it's still a work in progress. We're constantly tweaking it and adding new things, and even things like automatic emails, text messages, and so on, and updating the sort of scripts with those and so on. It's something which is constantly growing and getting better.
With that, I know you said it took 3 months to build?
Yeah, 3-4 months. So one day every week for that period, sitting down with Tracy from Connective to sort of build that. Yeah, so it was a big process, and it was very time consuming.
It's not. It's, I guess what I'm trying to make the point is, it's not an overnight thing. You can't just say, well, today we're going to change our systems and we're going to automate everything. It takes time, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And, I probably wasn't a massive fan of actually doing it, but I also realised that we needed to have a sort of standardised process. And you look at any business in the world that has been successful, and McDonald's is the great example. You walk into any restaurant and fundamentally you end up with the same thing, not for any other reason, but they have a process in place that means it will be replicated time and time again.
So Matt, you've got this system now built out. Where to from there? Where do you go as a broker?
Yeah, so one of the things it's enabled us to do is we've doubled the size of the team. So in that 12-month period, we've gone from sort of 5 brokers to 11 brokers. It's given us a much better ability to manage and view that as well, and standardise the outcomes, the service levels, and also, I guess, give the new brokers more of a guide in terms of the expectations and how to be successful.
So when you've built out this team, you've then looked at a back office. Tell me a little bit about this back office.
Yeah, so what we've done, we kind of operate more a cradle to grave kind of approach with our lending. So we don't have, the loan pass to somebody that deals with the banks and then a settlement team and so on. We kind of deal with the whole process. But what we've done to enable that to be more realistic is we've outsourced all the data entry. So we've got a team who we do a paper or an electronic file with the client initially fact find. That all gets uploaded into the CRM system. Apply Online's built, so we get all the green ticks, so that we're removed from, I guess, that $1 productive activity. So we can spend the time, on the phone to the client, nurturing them. And when you speak to the banks and lenders, because you know the file inside out, most of the time those conversations are much quicker and simpler. And we do find that gives us quicker sort of speed to answer, as it were.
How hard was it to build the back office? Was it something that you did overnight? Was it hard or was it easy?
No, so we engaged an overseas firm to help us with that. And, we're 18, 24 months into that journey now. The first 6 months was very difficult. They didn't really know what we were trying to do. We didn't know how to communicate properly in terms of what our expectations were. So again, coming back to that process, but, building a process with them, stepping through the process, embedding that process as part of our process, in terms of the expectations around how things were done, order they were done, and the timelines with those. So it was a challenge, but it's definitely working well now.
What would you say to brokers thinking about automating the back office, or even getting people in India or wherever to help them with that automation?
Yeah, so I think probably the biggest thing is understand what your process is first, because trying to bring an external party into your business to do something, unless you've got really structured processes, even to the extent of manuals, stepping them through what they need to do, it's almost an impossible thing to do. We found there weren't a lot of operators that were actually willing to share what other brokers were doing with them. It was more, you come along, tell us what you want us to do, and that's what we'll do. So it's a challenge, but yeah, making sure you've got that process bedded out first is definitely the key to making any of these things successful.
A lot of brokers would say, well, is it worth it? So all that hard work, almost over 2 years to get to this point, have you found that it's increased productivity?
Oh, 100%. The fact that I can, settle $5 million a month, sort of every month consistently, not be stressing, pulling my hair out, mentoring 5 guys, actually having time to enjoy myself, spend time with the kids, everything else, it's definitely worth it. Early days, it's a hard slog. There's no way, 2 ways about that. But you need to have that that process in place to, make things run smoothly. And, I remember back at the beginning, every other day you'd be fighting some fire with a bank somewhere about something. And, that very rarely ever happens anymore, just because we're anticipating things much better and not allowing problems to occur, basically.
So Matt, final question. What advice would you give brokers thinking about entering the industry or that are new to industry?
Yeah, so a big regret of mine was always I probably stayed at the bank for too long. So, getting out there and doing it is the big thing. I do believe it is getting tougher and tougher as a new entrant. So if you have no experience, I would definitely be, going and working with somebody else as, maybe an assistant for a while, or sort of some form of sub-broker with them, because trying to go out by yourself now without great mentoring is very difficult. In terms of, I guess, brokers that are maybe at the beginning of their journey and struggling, is really look at the referral relationships very differently to maybe the traditional way, which is, what are you going to give me, and actually go out there and learn. Accountants, financial planners, there's amazing things I've learned from them in terms of debt structuring, different aspects of lending, which enable me to have much better conversations with my clients. But that's from learning from them and seeing what they're doing, and things like debt recycling and so on. I spent 12 years at the bank and I had no idea what it was. It's not some magical strange thing. It's just common sense, really. But being able to actually understand and explain those things and have better conversations from the learnings that you get there is definitely a big thing, which I don't think many people focus on.
Couldn't agree more. Matt, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thanks a lot, Josh.
My big 3 takeaways from this episode was 1, process. By developing, maintaining, and constantly reviewing your process, it allows you to deliver a consistent result for each and every client every time. More importantly, you can identify bottlenecks so that you can build systems and processes around it to ensure that it doesn't happen again. All successful businesses do this. 2, it's understanding that success isn't an overnight game. If you want to double your business, you need to first focus on the back end and standardize your process from start to finish. And 3, it's outsourcing the low dollar productive activities. Once you've developed the process, you will be able to identify those areas in which other people can assist and you can outsource to them. What this will eventually do is increase your settlements and enable you to focus on the most important activities each and every day. So, these were my big 3 takeaways. What about you? We'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts on Facebook, our private group. Just search topbroker.com.au. Until next time,